Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Just going to do, Sam, you doing roll call?
Yes, absolutely. Alex Pino.
Present.
Hallie Giola. Beth Friend.
Here.
Chris Cargill.
Present.
Don Noka. Jason Barcombe.
Present.
Rob Bruning.
Yep.
Steve Faringa. And Tyler Doan.
Here. Okay. Do we have any conflicts of interest? All right. How about the agenda? Is there anything to add or? Is it
I think we're good, yeah. We
Good.
could do a motion to.
motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Seconded? Second. All right. Moved by a friend and seconded by Dome. Do we have any public comment?
We'll do all in favor.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It takes a little bit, when she
I know.
gets into the start rolling.
Watched a couple videos, but that's not, like, that's not enough.
It's not a natural thing, actually, to do, so. Just all in favor, say aye, then they'll do it, and then any opposed, say no.
All in favor to approve the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Agenda is approved. And now do you have any, we'll open it up for public comment.
I guess I will take a second at the public comment just to say, it's first time that I have met some of you. I've been following your work through the subcommittee working group that Claire's been working with, and I just want to thank all of you for your interest and your work in this and your willingness to be involved in this committee. It's greatly appreciated.
Thanks for the cookies and hot chocolate, guys.
That's all clear. That's all clear. Although if you win the 10,000, that was me, so, I don't go for a bottle of wine or something,
All right. Since that's good for public comment. We did receive an email for correspondence. How do we want to read that out or just?
We could just note that there was correspondence that's included in the packet. Moving forward, generally our other board kind of operating procedure is that we don't generally include public comment in the packet because you will all receive those public comments directly. So I sent out a test email this morning. It looks like it went through, but it was it's CIA@eastbaytwp.org. So any members of the public that want to provide correspondence, that will go directly to you. As we're kind of getting going, if I receive something, I will send it to the CIA at East Bay. So you will all receive that correspondence moving forward.
It's a way for the public to communicate to you as a board or commission of the townships. It is not official or documented. Lots of times you'll have the public ask you, well, I want it recorded in the record. So anything they send you like that is not recorded in the record. The only way it would be recorded is if they came publicly and gave public comment, and then their name and the general topic would be included in the minutes. Those are not, just so if anyone asks you, I'm just providing that information. But it's we do it because it's an easy, nice way for the public to be able to let you know what their perspective is on things that are before you.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, Beth.
All right, and so moving on, do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our previous meeting on December 1st?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 1st, 2025.
Second that.
All right. Motion by Bruning, seconded by Pino. And it looks like we have no financial report at this time.
Or all in favor?
Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion approved. And so then moving on, we don't have a financial report.
Other than I will let you know, in the township's fiscal year 2026 budget, we did put $50,000 like seed money in for the Corridor Improvement Authority. That will, if you end up going through a TIF process, and if that ends up being successful, that will be reimbursed to the township's general fund. If it is not, it is funds expended by the township's general fund.
Is that with like any kind of interest or any terms on that?
No,
Cool. Thank you, East Bay Township.
Yeah, thank you.
Beth, can I make a
that was
suggestion?
on John's suggestion, so.
Yeah, and my other suggestion would be that I think for appropriate record keeping, that maybe the township just prepare one paragraph saying that they're lending to the CIA 50,000 with the understanding if a TIF is approved, it'll be repaid with no interest.
Yep.
So we have like an intragovernmental agreement?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
For
Very-
auditing and
And
everything?
we will be, as soon as we know what is happening or not happening with the TIF, then we'll be setting up a separate total fund. So then, yeah.
Kind of surprised you're not charging them 9% interest.
We're all on the same page.
Moving on to business before the board. We have the 2026 meeting dates, and as previously discussed, we're looking at the third Thursday of each month. Is there a
Yeah, so I can just, we have meeting dates in front of you, as Chris mentioned, third Thursday of each month. We have, flexibility if halfway through the year, we're like, hey, this isn't working, we need to make an adjustment, that can absolutely be made. But this is a way for us to kind of just set a schedule. The public can have some level of expectation, our liaisons, just to know when those monthly meetings occur. Likely, there will also be special meetings in addition to these regular meetings. John and I were just discussing that we would like to hold a joint meeting between the Township Board and Corridor Improvement Authority Board. That will likely take place in the evening. So that would be a special meeting in addition to this. So this resolution kind of covers the monthly meetings, the time, the date, the location, as well as, a note that special meetings, will be held at the discretion of the Corridor Improvement Authority. I pulled that from our Planning Commission, so we'll make that change. So,
Okay, do we have a motion to support the meeting time and date?
Move to approve resolution CIA 2025-01
with the change.
with the change,
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Friend, seconded by Dome. Sorry, all in favor?
We'll do those. You'll look at the resolution and say what kind of a vote it says, and at the bottom it says roll call vote. So you'll ask the secretary to do a roll call vote.
Okay. Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. Cargill,
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Barcombe,
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Bruning,
Yes.
and Dome.
Yes.
Motion unanimously approved. And moving on, looks like we'll be reviewing the draft TIF and development plan.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Chris. So before you, so the draft TIF development plan is the exact same draft plan that you reviewed at the last meeting. We didn't make any changes, but thank you for completing the survey that was sent out. And just a little refresher just on the process that we're looking for. So this development and TIF plan will be approved in the same process that the Corridor Improvement Authority was established. So with all the public noticing, public hearing, recommendation to the Township Board. And so, as John mentioned last month, there's two components to this. There's the development plan, which is really kind of like the meat, the projects, exactly what the priorities are of the Corridor Improvement Authority Board and kind of what you see moving forward. And then the TIF, that's the financing piece. And so that's all of the tax projections from the different taxing jurisdictions. So these are the two components. Today, we're really looking for feedback on that development plan and the different projects and schedule and priorities. In terms of the process, the Corridor Improvement Authority Board would adopt a resolution to send it to the Township Board to keep us on schedule for, looking for that May adoption so that we can use this year's tax roll. We are recommending that this plan, the resolution of support for this plan, be adopted at your next meeting in January. So that's our goal that we're working with. If it doesn't happen, if you're not satisfied or you're still looking to make more changes, that's fine. But we can continue to make some changes after you adopt a resolution to send it to the Township Board. So we would be hoping at your January, I think it's 15th meeting. January 15th, resolution to send it to the Township Board. We also anticipate that there would be a joint meeting between the Corridor Improvement Authority and Township Board prior to the Township Board holding the public hearing, or certainly prior to them adopting it. So that would be an opportunity to kind of work through the projects, the priorities, have that open dialogue between the two boards, with the understanding that the Township Board would be the entity to adopt the plan. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're looking for feedback on the draft plan. I think we could start with feedback on the Table 1, projects and programs, that starts on page 28 of your packet. And I would also refer you to the SurveyMonkey results. Those are they start on page 51 of your packet. So you'll see with the survey, this is like the composite rankings. This takes like everybody's rankings and shows these are the highest priority projects up to the lowest priority. So you'll see the highest priority amongst Corridor Improvement Authority board members, the 4-mile US 31 intersection pedestrian crosswalk, the US 31 sidewalk network completion, year-round sidewalk maintenance, 4-mile road end community pier, and pedestrian bridge over US 31 at the state park. So those are kind of some of those big priorities. Similarly, we see, I just wanted to go over the list of projects that were ranked as number 1 by board members. So some of the projects that received a number 1 ranking included the pedestrian bridge at the state park, the community pier, the mid-block crossings between 3 and 4 mile, the US 31 medians, year-round sidewalk maintenance, the Refit Preserve connection, and then zoning amendments related to hospitality businesses providing a public amenity. So, I mean, I think we have a lot of really good projects, so it's hard to prioritize. But those were some of the ones that ranked top of the list based on the input. So the other change that we would be looking, or adjustment that we'd be looking to make to this table that starts on page 28, or sorry, 28 of the packet, is that we were going to add like responsible party or partners. So that's another element that we can add to this table for the final draft. And we already have this drafted. It's on page 50 of the packet. That's from the action plan that was in the adopted Beach District sub-area plan. So we would use these implementation partners and transfer it over to this table. So with that, would love to just hear feedback from the board members on, do you feel that there's any projects that are, so the short-term projects are the high priority, the midterm are the medium priority, and the, I don't think we have any long-term, but are there any projects that you feel are, maybe should rise to a higher level of priority or perhaps to a lower level of priority, or just anything that you want to highlight?
I suppose I'll take a stab at that. So looking at the explanations for your top 3 projects, I noticed that a lot of people went to safety. I think at least 4 of the comments were regarding safety of the area, safe crossings, sidewalks, things like that, which is great. And I noticed that in the rankings, things like wayfinding, placemaking, those things really weren't of much interest. My thought through this is that those type of projects are relatively inexpensive, maybe easy, low-hanging fruit to accomplish, and they're very public to the people, so they can see that things are being done, which could set us up for future development. We already have signage, we're capitalizing on the TART trail. When we talk about safety and sidewalk crossings, I don't think we know exactly where some of these new amenities or developments might go. So if we decide to invest a significant amount of money in a sidewalk crossing, what are the chances it's going to be in the wrong spot in the beach district? Where if we would have waited a little longer, maybe we'd get the placement better. So again, in summary, I'm thinking that these highly visible placemaking, taking advantage of the TART trail as a corridor to bring people into East Bay from downtown Traverse, people can see that we're doing stuff, we're spending money in the correct way. It might get more buy-in from other folks saying, wow, this is really cool, we want to support this, and then we get a snowball effect. So just wanted to throw that out there because I noticed those were kind of at the bottom of the list of interest, and I thought those would be an easy layup for us to accomplish.
Mr. Chair, along the same lines as Alex, I was thinking that maybe what should impact the priorities is almost like an overlay of what is, the cheapest and easiest. So while I don't disagree with the top ones that are here, there are, as Alex pointed out, a lot of ones that don't take a lot of money or personnel resources that could be elevated just to accomplish that.
Agreed. I think there were a couple in there that had to do with, zoning and township rules. Those are pretty easy to do and could have a significant impact. So I think those are generally at the top of the list, which would be the least important to us.
I'm curious if it would make sense to add another column, one that shows time frame, another one that shows priority, because we have some that we could get, that, like you said, we could get done quickly. They may not be like the very highest priority from the community, but if they're included in our action plan as a, short-term project, then we could kind of be set up to move forward with that. And similarly, we do have some very high projects that are very high priority, but are going to be kind of longer term. Like realistically, we know that they're going to be maybe 5+ years out, but they're a high priority, and so we, certainly want to allocate resources to support them.
Yeah, I would probably agree that we need to, clearly distinguish maybe the first 1 to 3 years, which projects we could actually move forward with. And then you know, what projects would need significant grant funding, or, you know, we'd need to know that too. Because, I mean, this is all based on the TIF, right? If that gets approved.
Well, there's other funding sources, right? And that's, do we want to set our sights on those to try and capture those dollars? Because we identified in our last meeting, the TIF isn't going to generate enough money to satisfy all these projects. So in my eyes, we need to do stuff that gets a lot of interest from other parties to get those grants and whatnot. So let's show them, hey, here's the vision, here's the steps we've made so far. Help us in this journey so we get bigger piles of money.
And honestly, you already are, the work that you and staff have done is already creating an interest. MADC is well aware of this project, which has funding sources. They've been particularly specifically invited to apply for some grants. The other thing we have to remember too is some grant processes take a significantly long period of time. There are some that are short and quick and easy and are smaller funds, 2% tribal funds. You put in, you'll know within 6 months if you get it, and you'll have the funds within 6 months. I mean, it's very short. Other ones are much longer. I think the one that you're putting in for is a lot like the DNR trust fund, where it's like you're in the process of getting your application in and scored, and judge the process is like someone compared it to a pregnancy with the DNR trust fund, meaning it's about 9-10 months that happens. And then the legislature and the governor don't even make the allocation for another 6 to 10 months. So it can be like a 2-year process before you're even putting in the infrastructure, which you're awarded with. And there's other grants that are on that same timeline.
So would it make sense to then maybe pursue some of these longer-term financial solutions as like hey, we're going to start with some of these medium-term projects that have been identified as a higher priority, knowing that we do have to go out and secure funding, like that would be one of the actions of this board or of the township, and then while simultaneously kind of pursuing some of these short-term easy wins?
Yeah, I think absolutely. John, I'm curious if you think that that level of detail should be included in the development plan, because I guess just from a, kind of staff perspective, yes, and working with the Corridor Improvement Authority Board and kind of our monthly kind of discussions about moving forward with projects, I think that we want to, kind of have this development plan be higher level. But the specific grant funding, we kind of, we'll be working through that and kind of in an opportunistic way as grant funding becomes available, and we use this to help inform what our priorities are. But making sure that we're keeping open communication, especially meeting on a monthly basis and discussing the different funding opportunities and how to move these projects forward.
For my own understanding too, when it comes to assigning a grant, like to a project, for example, is it more like, some of these grants, maybe 3 or 4 of these projects could apply, and then we have to focus it towards one? Or is it kind of like, hey, we're going to identify this project based on priority, and then that one is like leading the charge towards this grant or towards this alternative source of funding?
I would say yes and yes.
Yes and yes.
I think there's grants that would be decent candidates probably for multiple projects. But there are some grants that really, there would be one project that kind of rises to the top. And I do think with grants, it is kind of a opportunity. We have to be somewhat opportunistic with the grants and kind of the funding cycles when they become awarded. Some grants, they don't continue in perpetuity. So grants that were available for the last few years, they might, not have a funding cycle coming up, or there might be new grants coming online. So, we're constantly as staff, looking to kind of find out what grant opportunities there are, and we'll be informed on what we move forward with based on the priorities.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from the board is really there's 2 competing competing but complementary issues going on. One is complexity of the project, which would be low, medium, and high. For example, like the pedestrian bridge over US 31. It's a high priority, but it's also a complex project. Whereas some of the ones that were identified longer term, such as, the corridor furnishing guidebook, ranked as a long-term project, but in terms of complexity, it's low. So maybe if we did the table that talked complexity and priority, then you could figure out where the, kind of the sweet spot is relative to where some of the initial effort needs to go. Without saying that, for example, even though the pedestrian bridge may be a short term, something that everybody would like to get done quickly, but it's going to be complex, it doesn't mean that that can't change with funding opportunities. So I think maybe that's where, like, I'm hearing some of the comments, people are saying, well, there's projects that are like low-hanging fruit because they're not very complex, but then again, they didn't rank very high in the scoring. So maybe we do a table that talks about, kind of like project priority, but then at the same time complexity in order to pick off some of the lower hanging fruit. How does that sound?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. One question I have for you, John, is I know oftentimes in a master plan, you'll have you have your action plan, but then you'll have like a 5-year plan of kind of what's going to be implemented. Have you seen development plans do something similar?
Yeah,
Really zero in.
and the ones that don't make a differentiation between complexity and priorities, it's usually the higher priority ones, projects are the ones that the board will focus attention on.
Okay,
So they make that determination that, for example, your TIF capture may be, obviously it starts out low, well then you focus on what projects can you get done with the amount of revenue that you have, and then to get to Alex's point, so people can see that you're starting to get things done. So,
Kind of going back to what Claire said, this development plan, we can identify, time frame, complexity, things like that, but this is by no means holding us to that
No.
time frame. Later on, we can say, you know what, let's go ahead and, even though we said this was long time frame and very complex, let's kick it up to the top, right?
Yeah.
This is just sort of a plan to get to the township board.
yeah, at the very end of the table, there's a declaration in there that depending on funding opportunities, changes in market conditions, the board has the authority to change the priorities at any time.
Okay, so this is our guiding light. It's
Yeah.
less about developing this action plan right now. Okay.
Yeah,
This be thrown on to, I mean, this is technical, this is a side note, but like almost onto a matrix, rather than like a table.
that's kind of what I was getting at in terms of the complexity priority issue. It'd be almost like a matrix.
Yeah, like almost graphing or,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe we could color code, like with the complexity and priority, but for the low, medium, high.
Yeah.
So you can kind of easily see, if there's 2 greens, it's not a very complex project, and it's a high priority, and so those are, kind of makes it easier to
Yes.
identify the ones that
Right.
we're looking at early on.
And as we add columns to this table, maybe if we had a digital version so we could sort for future meetings, say, okay, what's the cheapest and what's the least complex, just to kind of get the.
I think the board in its own way, based on the scoring with what I look at with this blue chart, if you were to divide it into 3 components, it seems like a lot of the projects that are the most complex were the ones that were rated the highest. The ones that were the least complex are the ones that also are probably the less costlier ones, even though the board said those are longer term. You know what I mean? So I think if you do the matrix, it'll start sorting these projects out in terms of which ones you want to pick off first.
Question about maybe just like the complexity level of some of these projects, like some of the higher priority ones, year-round sidewalk maintenance seems probably pretty low complexity,
Yeah, it would be low complexity.
And also, I don't know about the sidewalks network completion, what would you estimate? You think that's pretty high complexity? Looking at the partners kind of who would be helping with that?
Well, I think what we really need to do, since we're going to be talking about this at the next meeting, would be to actually redo the survey. And in terms of, everybody rates the projects relative to their priority, in terms of of what their priorities would be in terms of the overall impact to the corridor. But then the other part of the survey would be to have the board weigh in on what they think the complexity would be. And then we could develop that matrix to find out where that one area is where the board needs to focus their attention on.
I could just see the sidewalks one being like a really, really high visibility, like even if you
Yes.
have nothing to do or have no idea about this board, you will know that this, thing was created and now is working on something that's very tangible to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Tyler, to your point, I would say, building the sidewalks, not super complex, but oftentimes easements are needed,
Yeah.
right-of-way, those types of considerations.
They've always been done in the past, either with development, right, down in some of the commercial area, but most often with an MDOT project.
Yeah, and there is, and Heidi could probably speak to it more, is it 2027 or 2028 where the Garfield to 3 Mile?
I want to say 2028, I know it's not
Okay.
2027.
Okay,
But it could be 2029, so it's one of those 2 years.
okay. So there is going to be some preventative maintenance project coming in from MDOT, which is exciting. So that will give us an opportunity for some collaboration with MDOT.
Mill resurfacing project, so we're not going to be doing a full, transformative project, but just taking the pavement, putting it back what we have in better condition. But it does give the opportunity for partnership.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, John, I think that sounds great. If everyone is willing to do another survey, we will get that out. And if you could get it done in the next couple of weeks, I know it's the holidays, but that will give us the opportunity to provide you with an updated draft that you can review at your next meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And
Okay.
and even, for me, it was really helpful to read through some of the feedback and arguments made for prioritizing different projects too, to just have a little more food for thought. And so I think an iterative process where we're like hearing and sharing each other's ideas in that way is really helpful to help the cream rise to the top.
2028, just wanted to.
2028, thank you.
Confirm that, thank you.
I think that will work good with our timing, so.
One last thing I did want to ask a question about, it does pertain to financing. I know last time we identified that some of the projects may exceed the budget that we expect to capture. But then in response to that, we had discussed possibly, some type of loan that from wherever, but then we would use this TIF capture to repay, principal and interest. But if our lifespan on this board is 20 years, let's just say, or this whole entity is 20 years, what happens, if you took out 40 million in loans and you are on track to repay, but let's say you only ever get to 20 million, and then when it's year 19, who foots the bill? Yeah, does it just get extended kind of from at that point, or?
I would let John speak to that, but we would be, fiscally conservative, and so we wouldn't be looking to take out loans that we couldn't pay back within the TIF lifespan. And we certainly could extend the TIF, but we would need to go through the same process that we're going through right now.
No, yeah, that's correct. If you did a bond, the bond counsel that reviews it and the finance advisor that works with the bond attorney will run the numbers to make sure that the bond payments are paid off before the expiration of the TIF. So the 20-year time frame is that they will use that in order to make their projections in terms of the ability of the authority to complete all of their payments. So, as you get closer to the, like if, let's say, 5 years from now, you're starting to bring in some significant capture, and the authority wanted to do a larger scale project, which required a loan or a bond, you would only be able to capture the amount of money that you have remaining in the life of the plan, unless it would be extended. But we're only operating right now under a 20-year time horizon.
I would say too, you do, this board and what it does, the finances, it's all going to go to the township board.
Correct.
And it'll be on their faith and credit to do that. So also anything that might, look, I'm just hypothetically speaking, so goodness knows if a board member is listening, take this with a grain of salt. But let's just say hypothetically, you were in a bond that went 2 years past the life of this. You could negotiate with the township board and say, if we're able to, complete this over 13 years that's left in the TIF, would you be willing to pay the last 2 years of that principal and interest? And that might be something that's doable.
That would be up to between the bond council, the finance advisor, and the township board. The DDA does not, or the CIA does not have the ability to issue bonds. Only the township board does, and they have to pledge their full faith and credit to say that they will be paid off. The DDA will have an agreement with the township saying the township is going to capture the money from the CIA to pay off their principal and interest payment. So as we talked about last month, everything goes back to the board relative to annual budgets, any loans, any bonds, anything that occurs financially has to be approved by the board of trustees. So.
And just a little background on that 20-year, I would say, John, would you say most TIF plans are longer than that, are 30 years?
Yeah, some that I've done are
until
25,
the-
30. In fact, I've written some that says that the life of the TIF is, the life of the TIF is in effect until all of the projects in the development plan are accomplished. So there are some TIFs that have been out there like for 45 or 50 years already.
Yeah, so, and I think that was kind of the initial draft of this one.
Well, I try to get as
Had
much
some
as
of
I
that
possibly
language.
can. Yeah.
But based on our conversations that we've had with the taxing jurisdictions and the feedback that we've received, we're really trying to kind of manage this and put some guardrails in place so that this can be kind of a win-win for the entire community and that the other taxing jurisdictions are more comfortable with this plan. So.
So I will work with Claire and Sam on a survey, and I would echo Claire, once you get it, if you could get it done rather quickly, it would give us more time to kind of pull it together and come up with a new draft, yeah.
Yeah, yep, that sounds good. Any other comments on this draft or anything that you saw that you have questions about or edits?
I have an edit, I believe, page 23 of your packet, or 6 of the development plan, section 4. It appears the numbers might have been messed up. It says residential, there are 1,635 residential units, and then the table below shows 1,001.
Yeah,
It looks like the total was put in.
It's because some of the parcels that are residential are condominiums. So there may be one parcel that has 15 units in it.
yeah, I flagged that as well, but then John went back and took a look at it, and
Yeah.
so it's like Tamarack and some of those that are considered residential.
Yeah.
Or maybe not Tamarack, but some of the other condos that are,
So there's the same number of residential units as there are parcels in the TIF, is that, or in the zone? Because A is the same as the total in the bottom, total number of parcels.
yeah, so that 1635, there's 1635 residential units and
Oh, okay.
1635 parcels.
Yeah, so I think A should say there are 1,001 residential units.
I'll have to check that because like I said, there are some condominiums that show up as one parcel, but they have multiple units, and when
Yeah, I
our,
think if there's 1,001 parcels, there's significantly more residential
residential units.
Because like Port Travers, that's one parcel, but they have quite a few units.
but I'll check it
And then
again.
same thing with B, 633 commercial, and then the table below so shows 663.
Oh, it's transposed the numbers. Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then I don't know if that affects the acreage or taxable valuation, but I would assume it might not, but
Might
it
not.
might be worth checking.
Yeah, well, we're running this on GIS.
Cool.
Thank you.
And then one other small edit, it was on page 14 of the development plan. Section 9, portions of the development area. The very last sentence references the downtown area. Wondering if that should be each district.
Yeah.
Where's that at, Alex?
Page
14?
14 of the development plan,
Number?
section 9.
Number 9.
Very last sentence references,
Oh, yeah, it should be corridor.
yeah.
I'm so used to writing DDA plans.
Yeah, it seemed like that, so
Thank you for the careful review.
Nice. I just have a general question. What is the one industrial property in the development zone? Do you know?
You know, nothing's zoned industrial.
But it's classified as.
But it's probably classified industrial. We do have like the oil change. I'm not sure which one would be classified. It would be,
I can get that, it's on the GIS.
we can find out
yeah.
what assessing classifies as
Yeah.
industrial. It's a good question.
question on page 7, it references vacant land. There are currently several small vacant parcels located in the CI development area. Is that something that we might want to include in this plan to identify which are vacant? For the sake of, in our table, we had land acquisition. Would that be helpful to identify those potential opportunities? Or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because vacant properties kind of come and go, I think that identifying that there are vacant properties, but, so maybe not included in the plan, but definitely an
maybe have it-
exercise that we should do, probably on an annual basis, just
At least so
to
that we're aware
kind
of
of,
what-
yeah, figure out what the opportunities are, especially from a land acquisition perspective.
That is something that the Conservancy and the Township are always monitoring as well.
And then one more comment. In the TIF plan, section 1, item B, it mentions property exempt from taxation at the time of determination of the initial assessed value. Is it worthwhile to understand which properties are exempt from that? Or how would we learn about those?
Is this just the definition of the?
It might be,
initial
but
assessed
it seemed to me that there might be properties that are exempt from being included in the.
Well, yeah, offhand, yeah, I would say there's the Township Park. I'd have to look on the database, but like, for example, right away, the Township Park comes up, that's tax exempt.
From a high-level view, what type of properties would be?
Well, usually, from a high-level view, it'd be anything owned by a municipality, the county,
Churches?
pardon me, religious, schools, public schools. Those are always usually tax exempt, yeah.
The state park?
State park is tax exempt.
I just had a question with regard to one of the priorities or projects that was talking about a parking structure, and wondering whether there's like just not at this stage, and I would think, and not for some time, would like elevated parking maybe, make sense for the amount of traffic that we have there. Are there options for, but what I see, even in the summer, is sometimes we have lots that do seem underutilized. Are there options for working with a property owner to, say, create street level parking that might be metered parking, or however it's done, to, say, a couple properties that I saw, there's the TBA lot where they have the ATM there, which is right on the border of the district. There's a lot of lot behind, say, like the Bayside Market that seems to be underutilized. Both of those have access to the TART trail and frontage on right by 31. So could there be an option of creating more public parking that wouldn't entail adding major infrastructure?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I know Beta has been successful with having some remote parking locations along the corridor, and so continuing to work, I think, with TART and Beta to identify those public parking locations. The Bayside Market, the parcel right behind it, is going to be under development. But I agree, there are a number of different parking lots that are underutilized that I think we can continue to approach those property owners. In terms of the parking deck, we've had some just preliminary discussions with Tamarack, who owns the parking lot right behind the Speedway. They're interested in potentially doing a parking deck there. Mentioned to them, could there be a possibility of like a public-private partnership where the township, the Corridor Improvement Authority would finance like a portion of that and have that dedicated to public parking? So I think that would definitely be an opportunity to explore. It's a small parcel, but they have had, an engineer kind of take a look at it and felt that it would be feasible to put a parking structure in there, small parking structure in there.
That's what I wondered, because
Yeah.
it's pretty small.
Mansfield has taken a look at it and feels
That
like
would be
there's a,
great
yeah.
location
So
for the district.
right by the 4 Mile Road end. And
These parcels in the development plan, and I know we talked initially when we had the Improvement Authority, the O'Grady parcel, I mean, how did we come to the realization that those are even viable? I mean, I didn't know O'Grady, it looked like somebody purchased it, and so is it still up? Is it still available
I
in
did
Mitchell
reach
Creek?
out to Kyle O'Grady.
Okay.
And he confirmed, yes, it has been purchased, and he didn't have any updates on what that developer was looking to do with the parcel. He said they might be going in a different direction from what the renderings, but I just encouraged him to share, my contact information, and that we'd be interested in connecting with that developer and see if there's opportunities for collaboration. So in terms of the parcels that were selected, they were ones that the township knew were either kind of underutilized or vacant, and we had a willing property owner that was interested in getting some ideas. So like with the Mitchell Creek Inn, they had come in and talked with the township about redeveloping their parcel, as opposed to, the township didn't approach them and say, hey, looks like your parcel should be, redeveloped. So that was kind of the process that we went through.
So I guess how viable are these? I mean, because obviously real estate in this area goes very quickly. I mean, we put it in there. Are we even in the position to, purchase a parcel? I mean, because I think those parcels are really important to this plan. I mean, we have some really good ideas with the food truck lots and, that really could.
Yeah, I think the idea behind it was that those parcels would be purchased by a private developer and use the kind of renderings and public ideas. It would be a way of kind of like helping influence the private development.
Okay, so we wouldn't be.
Probably not with those. I mean, I think that there's some opportunities, for example, like the O'Grady parcel, say that was purchased, say there would be an opportunity to for the township to purchase an easement or a portion of it to put in, maybe not that location, but as we kind of evaluate opportunities for like a pedestrian bridge, that would be an example where a portion, most of the property would be used for a private development, but a portion could be used by the township for either, we could put money towards closing a driveway to help with access management, some
Maybe to
pedestrian
help with the
amenities,
use
a
of-
pull-out, those types of things. So I think there's opportunity to maybe not, we could potentially purchase an entire parcel, but also put funding towards public amenities within private parcels.
Ultimately, a property owner has the right to develop under the zoning ordinance, and they obviously have, permitted uses, and that's their right, and special land uses, which have some more input from the planning commission. But we hope that this process and the vision that it sees provides value and maybe direction towards developers and what the community is trying to develop for itself along this beach district and corridor.
I think the renderings that we did do can apply to other properties, like having that kind of access way from the TART trail to the development, kind of having like a promenade for a public space, outdoor eating, those types of things are amenities that could be applied to other parcels as well.
That also brings to mind too, kind of why I can't find it right now, but the potential zoning amendment, which would require development on that beach district to have some type of an amenity for the public. So, and specifically this came about with hotels, because hotels are routinely, developed or proposed there, and the residents get very little use or, joy out of it there, right? And we've seen with like the Alexandra going in that people use that rooftop, or at one time we had another one that was going to go in next to the state park, and that was going to have Starbucks in it. Sorry, I'm not being biased. But, those are things that you could see the park goers use, which we use the park as well, the state park, residents do, as well as people going past and would stop in. So that kind of became what we were thinking is like, okay, if hotels are going to go in and we realize the disdain that some of the public feels towards, another hotel. How about when we're trying to get some use and placemaking in that corridor district, that they must plan some public amenity in that space? So that also kind of leads to that public-private, I would say partnership, although when we put it in as a zoning ordinance, it's more than a partnership. It's something that they have to do.
Is there any land available on the water anymore? I don't even know if there's.
Well, either there becomes land available, so right where Alexandra went in, there was a house there for a long time. We were on one side with Jen's Park, and another condo was on the other side, and so when that went up, we had tried to communicate with that property owner for a long time, but it was a family that had one spouse was passed, one was in a home, children were all off elsewhere in the country. It was difficult, and when we saw it come up for sale, we were on it, with the Conservancy looking at it. There were 3 offers on it, accepted, contingent, all of that stuff. By the time, our process takes so much longer than a private person. But, we do try to watch those things and proactively go at them. There are a few of them left. We have worked with the tribe on the tribal property to talk with them about what they're doing. Because a long time ago, there was an offer to the tribe, and that went through development. It was a private developer who had an agreement contingent. That went to the wayside. And we have talked with them, and as of now, right now, they have conservation easement through the tribe on that property. So But now, that's not like a conservation easement held by us or held by the Conservancy. You know, that's on there and it's fantastic and we're all thrilled about it, but it's, they can remove it too. So, we're constantly working with those property owners, looking at those properties.
Two things I wanted to ask is, one, back to the hospitality ordinance, or the development ordinance, is there some draft language for that, or something that's already been written out, or an example that we can pull from, where that would actually explain how, you know, what a developer would be obliged to do as far as public amenities?
Yeah, I don't think we've gotten that far. I know that that was mentioned when we were going through the zoning ordinance rewrite, the final steps when it came to the township board. That was mentioned there. A lot of board members just gave comments that that sounded like a good idea, but we weren't the body to enact that. That would really be the planning commission. I do think that the township board, I could imagine them supporting something like that, and I think that the planning commission would consider that with also support from this board if it felt like it was in the interest of the beach district.
And that's probably something we should move on because, I mean, everything happens so quickly. I mean, tomorrow there could be a new hotel being developed. I'm sure there's out there are already people talking about it, so.
And
Yeah.
back to the earlier conversation, that makes sense, that is sort of low-hanging fruit in terms of the cost of initiating something like that.
I will plan to put it on our January agenda. We can discuss. I'll do some research on what other communities or best practices, and then we can discuss and send it on to the planning commission to start developing some language, if that works.
Yeah, for example, the new Marriott Courtyard in Petoskey, they have a section that was leased out for retail, and people in it it's a beauty salon and spa, but it's open to the public. I mean, people can they don't have to stay at the hotel to use it. It's one of those type of examples, like you were saying. It's something that is available to the community if they decide to use it.
So I guess maybe we should, we've been going for a while on this. Just procedurally, it sounds like we've all agreed that, we should do some more, another survey, add our priorities into a matrix that gives us some more information on feasibility versus priority of the project. Do we need to make a motion to?
No, I think this is good. I think this is good direction, and we'll plan to have on the January agenda the updated draft plan, and also a draft resolution for your consideration to recommend it on to the township board.
Great. And then, should we move forward to discuss the coastal management program grant application?
Sure, yeah. So we are seeking a resolution of support today from the Corridor Improvement Authority to pursue this grant opportunity. The grant is due December 31st. It's kind of a long timeline in terms of the grant application is due this year, December 31st. We wouldn't have a grant agreement in place until likely early 2028. So that's when the project would start. So we apply for the grant, we hear probably in 3 or 4 months, and then the project would start probably a year or more out. Just to kind of give you an idea, because the matching source that we're looking for, so this is Coastal Management Program, as Beth mentioned. I think we are a really competitive candidate for this because we received funding from Coastal Management Program for our visioning. So their grant coordinator was pretty engaged throughout our process. They saw all of our visioning materials. They saw the charrette design. They saw the public pier that was included as a part of the charrette. They even, included it in their webinar, some of the renderings that their general statewide webinar about this grant opportunity included our rendering in there. So I think they are excited about this, this project and opportunity to fund this. We can request up to $150,000 from Coastal Management Program, and what we're looking to do is 2 phases. There would be a feasibility analysis, and then the second piece would be a engineering construction, like design of the pier, or the kind of public access. We would want to get it to the point where it was construction ready, so even included in our scope of work would be any permitting as required. We're planning to do like soil borings, water level analysis, some coastal process analysis, including like a coastal engineer to really look closely at the feasibility. I talked a little bit, or emailed a little bit with Chris about this project last week. I think, you know, we had originally envisioned a permanent pier. Not that that's off the table, but there are some challenges just from a permitting standpoint, from a water level standpoint. The water level, it's very shallow out there. We would be, you know, looking to do open pile if it was permanent, because that allows kind of the normal coastal process, sand movement and those types of things, and that would be kind of the best practice from like a resiliency standpoint. It would avoid impacting the neighbors and, you know, catching sand and removing sand from one side and holding sand on the other side. So so that would be part of the feasibility analysis, is looking at different options and what would be most feasible. We plan to also have public engagement through this process. So although we had some public engagement for the initial rendering, we would be looking to do some more in-depth targeted public engagement and stakeholder engagement through the design process. We're also hoping to look more holistically at this site. So we've talked with TARD about having a connection from the 4-mile neighborhoods to this site, making some intersection improvements. We've got that gateway, which I think would be really cool to say, you know, like, welcome to the Beach District. We've got a location for a bus pullout with Beta. Tamarack has a great location, and it's actually not Tamarack property, it's public right-of-way, so there is space for a bus pullout. Sam and I went out and checked it out with Bill a month or so ago, a couple months ago. So I think there is a lot of opportunities. We've also talked about doing like some habitat restoration kind of along the coastline and have it be like really like a demonstration project for best management practices, some informational signage about, you know, coastal resiliency, water levels, coastal wetlands, those types of things. And just have a place that people can get out on the water, and if they don't have a boat, just be able to access the water, as well as having like an accessible kayak launch and have it be an opportunity just for people to better access the water, residents.
The design process that you guys did that week during the summer was kind of the impetus of the piers. Like, it's so shallow there, you can't have something that's like a traditional pier of what people think about. And so we started thinking about just kayaks, and then we started thinking about, as Claire mentioned, accessibility from an equity standpoint, right? There's people with ADA issues, wheelchairs, walkers, so forth, that can't get out onto the water. They may have a friend who has a boat, but it's just physically difficult, nearly impossible to get them onto the boat. Or they may have financial issues. You know, they don't have a boat. They don't have a friend who has a boat. And how do they ever experience being anything but on the land looking from the water? And so this kayak launch was meant to originally, and it may change shape, form, and so forth, but I'm just telling you from the very beginning was like, okay, how can we get people out into the water and then have a place where they can be, like a picnic table or something there that they can sit and enjoy a sandwich and lunch and feel what it likes to have the water around them rather than just looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just from like a funding standpoint, so the funding that we're applying for, it's up to $150,000. The township would need to provide a 50% match. We can include in kind, so part of what we're looking at is including like all of our staff time, as well as we can even include like other agency partners and meetings and stuff. So what we would realistically be looking at in terms of like cash match from the Corridor Improvement Authority, and this is, of course, would be predicated on the fact that the TIF plan is adopted, but we'd be looking at probably like $80,000 to $90,000 would be the match from the Corridor Improvement Authority to help make this project a reality. And I think that kind of the way it's set up, and we worked with some engineering firms to kind of help us figure out how to scope out the project, but it would get us like really close to construction, which is exciting. Construction ready.
Given the tight timeline, do we have the staff and availability for a grant application to get completed?
It's almost complete. Yeah.
That's great. All the legwork's been done.
And I can't remember if I mentioned, but the Township Board has also adopted a resolution of support for this
That was my next question,
application
was
as well. Yeah.
knowing that it would have to go.
Yeah, and sorry that we didn't come in front of you first, but just in terms of timing of meetings, the Township Board meeting we went to in December.
Makes
So.
sense.
Have we, and I might be getting ahead of myself here, but have we evaluated like the long-term operational and maintenance requirements on this pier?
No, and that would be part of the feasibility, like if it's seasonal, what does that look like? If it's, yeah, exactly. Those are some big questions, and definitely a lot of complexity there in talking with engineers. And there's been some other projects funded through Coastal Management Program on the Great Lakes. Grand Haven Township was one example that was given to me. I think a couple other communities that had gotten funding and done a kind of a smaller scale pier like this. So I think we do have some different communities that we can look to for examples.
We do have staff and a maintenance crew too that are told to and naturally do. Maintenance is drilled into their head as far as when we construct and when we choose things. We choose the most maintenance-free, pleasing aesthetically looking materials so that we minimize maintenance.
I have a question. So when we go after a grant like this, specifically with this grant, the pier concept is kind of the target. Do I understand that correctly? So we're applying for this grant and we're applying for it because we've got this concept that we're trying to develop. Do I understand that?
You know, I think that with the feasibility analysis, we're going to have some different options. So we're including those renderings that are in your packet showing the kind of the initial pier concept. But I think that in my conversations with Coastal Management Program and their grant coordinator, that feasibility assessment or feasibility analysis will allow us to look at different types of concepts and choose the most appropriate one.
So then the next question is, going after grants in the future, are we always sort of providing a target for each grant, or are the grants kind of all-encompassing where we're just going after money and then we get to choose what project we apply it for? I guess the question is, the people giving the money away, generally speaking, do they require a target? Do they want to know what we're going to spend the money on? Or is it like a grant comes available, we have many projects that we could spend the money on, we're going to apply for the grant, then we decide how to get the money?
I think with a grant application, we try to be as specific as possible,
Okay.
given the available information that we have.
Got it.
So with our grant application, we gave information on our project partners, on our goals, on our priorities, on the public process so far, the different design elements that we're looking to include, including like the gateway, the public access to the water, the ADA kayak launch, sidewalk connections. So we're really trying to be as specific as possible. Although I believe that grant, funders recognize that part of the money needs to be spent on figuring out exactly, what's feasible.
So I guess the reason I'm asking is it puts more importance on our priority list. item needs to be, or a target needs to be attached to the grant, then we really need to have our priorities in line so that when the money comes, the opportunity for money comes available, we need to have that project to provide us a target as opposed to this big list and, all right, so.
Yeah, great point.
I would say a grant isn't a grant, isn't a grant, isn't a grant. They're all different.
Mhm.
So when you go after an infrastructure grant where you're saying, this is what we're doing, we'll do that with like a sewer or water, that's gonna be very specific. It's probably going to be designed and all the way through, construction ready engineering. When you are there are some grants that have a planning component to it or are solely planning, and those are going to be more open-ended. We had a grant many, many years ago that was from Michigan Association of Planning. It was a technical grant for planning. Just knew that we needed, that we had several projects out there and needed some assistance in some of them. And as we went through that process, we picked a project that was on the township's radar. So this is a little bit like that too, in that it has that planning component to it. We switched to like the DNR Trust Fund of the Holiday Woodlands Natural Area. They know we are putting an infrastructure of trails. We don't have that trail designed yet, and they know that, but they know that trails will be going there.
Yeah, it just helps me understand the big picture, how we're gonna acquire money that's not a TIF.
Yeah, and I think another great opportunity is the trust fund grant, and that could be a future application where we could apply for up to 400, right now, the opportunity is up to $400,000 for kind of the development side of a public park, so.
And so, just one more clarifying question for me is, our resolution of support, it sounds like is, we're saying contingent upon the approval of the TIF funding, that we are committing to allocating our available, financial resources towards the local match.
Yes, but even once the grant, there will be a grant agreement opportunity with the township board. So the township board will ultimately be able to either accept or could even, not accept the grant at that time. So I think that at this point, yes, we are looking to see if you're supportive of moving forward. But as things change, if we don't have the funding or the match at that time, or it become less of a priority, then the township would not have to accept the match or accept the grant. And that would probably certainly be a conversation with the Corridor Improvement Authority board before the township board accepted it.
One of the things we talked about is oftentimes staff will say, do I have to go to the board before I put in for this grant? Because we don't have a meeting, but yet the grant applications do. And the way I've always approached it is, it's great to go before and get a resolution of support. Some grants require it, this one requires it.
This one doesn't.
Oh, this one doesn't require it, okay. So Claire's doing it as a best practice. Sometimes we don't have, it's not required, and we don't have the timing for that. And my recommendation to staff is always go after the grant. Because even if, looking back hindsight, the board says to you, the CIA board, the township board, what are you thinking? That wasn't the grant we should have gone after. We shouldn't have gone after that project. They always have the chance to say no. But if you feel like a grant that's out there that has an opening for submissions is a good fit, don't let that go but because of the timing. So you always have kind of like two opportunities really, which is if the grant comes before you for support or authorization, but then also that project agreement too. I just don't want you to be caught off guard if there ever comes before you with the grant that didn't have a
Oh, that's great.
resolution first.
Thank you, yeah.
We saw one public comment, obviously, through an email. Has there been any other comments on this pier or that
No,
you guys have
we
heard?
haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Other than, I think, a lot that went into the,
Yeah, a lot of,
Visioning.
yes, a
Right.
lot of public comments throughout the visioning
And
process.
that was more positive, if I recall, so.
I did, Ally Warfel called, and because she was unable to come to this meeting, and as you know, her family owns Tamarack
Yeah.
right next door, and she just mentioned that she was supportive of this resolution and grant.
Well, we got it up here, this email, just to kind of clarify things. I'm going to read the email or part of it. I understand that the overall project for East Bay / beach upgrades will happen. What is she talking about? Is there anything that will happen?
I mean, it's in our
This is just a public
adopted
comment.
plan, so it's, yeah, I guess,
I would just read
probably
that as is,
conjecture.
and,
Okay.
You know,
Point.
I don't know if we need to even comment on it, but just take it as is, and anybody could say anything in an email to us, so
Okay.
unless there's something specific you'd like to comment on it, but I don't know.
Am I missing something? I didn't think anything was going to happen. I thought that's why we're here.
That's, yeah.
Well, should we go ahead with a roll call vote on this?
You need a.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution 2025-2, approving submission of Water Resources Division grant application for the 4-mile public pier.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Pino, seconded by Barcombe. And then roll call vote.
Rand,
Yes.
Barcombe,
Yes.
Cargill,
Yes.
Pinot,
Yes.
Bruning,
Yes.
and Doan.
Yes.
Okay, looks like the motion was passed. Then, moving forward, do we have any further comments or considerations for future agenda items?
I have one real quick comment, and that is this form that's on your desk. It's got just emergency contact information as well as your 4-digit door code, passcode, preferred passcode to use. So if you guys get a chance to fill that out, and you can get that to Sam, and we can make sure we get that all recorded.
Yes, we have new mailboxes for you as well. They are in the vestibule behind you. We can show you guys before you leave. And I'm happy to show you guys.
So that will allow you to access your packet anytime. You can use your key code at the door, come into the south entrance, grab your packet.
Great. Okay. Well, yeah, do we have any other further public comment?
Thanks. Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Heidi Fanoff, a transportation planner with MDOT's North Region. I help provide support for MDOT for this group as part of the liaisons, and just wanted to introduce myself because I was part of the visioning group, and I'm glad to see you guys are all here and look forward to working with you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do the same, Claire. Stephen Lagerquist, the Grand Traverse Regional Plan Conservancy. I'm also a liaison and excited about having the group together. Seems like a great group of folks. So looking forward to helping what we can. Conservancy on those land protections and some of the grant stuff made my brain spin a little bit about the Refit connection too. So yeah, excited to be involved. So thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
You have to, Bill. It's peer pressure.
Yeah, I'm Bill Clark. I'm Beta's Outreach and Planning Coordinator, and East Bay is a big part of some of our routes, so we're really happy to be involved, so thanks.
Thank you.
And Maxwell Cameron was here as well. He's serves as a liaison on behalf of Grand Traverse County, so he's the Community Development Coordinator.
mentioned Stephanie. Is Stephanie also a liaison to State Park?
Yes, and Stephanie Rosinski was here as well. She's the superintendent, or the, yeah, of the Traverse City State Park, and has been a great partner and serves as a liaison as well. So our liaisons are gearing up to meet. We just sent out a meeting poll, but their first meeting will be before your next meeting. So we will also solicit some input from them on the TIF and development plan.
So concludes public comment. And we've already approved our future meeting dates, so our meeting on January 15th is already set, yes?
Yeah, yep, and you can adjourn without a motion as well.
Great. Well, I think it's time to adjourn this meeting.